Dear brothers and sisters, it's wonderful to have all of you here. We feel this is a way of getting to know the path better because different people send in different questions, and generally a question of one answers the questions of many, many others. So let us address some of the questions that came this week.
How can we meditate in a noisy environment? And how can we keep from becoming angry in the face of difficulties?
Many of us are living in the Western world, and we get pampered by many, many things. We just expect things because we feel that it should be like that. I remember the times of Sant Singh Ji Maharaj, Savanashram, where Sant Singh Ji Maharaj was staying and where satsang would happen, just had a railway line right behind it. And every time we went to satsang or sat in meditation, the trains would go by. Yeah. We got used to it because we learned how to concentrate even when a train was passing by, just like 200 feet away, maybe 500 feet away from that area. So it's a question of concentration, it's a question of being focused ourselves. Now, how many times are you watching TV and people in your household are doing something? Let's say you're watching the World Series and you're very interested in how things are going to happen. So you concentrated there. If your kid is making a noise, someone else is distracting you, you don't get distracted. You just take it into stride because your focus is so strong in being able to watch what you feel is very important. So the first thing to remember is how much importance are we giving to meditation? Difficulties are a part of life. We need to learn how to deal with them. We should not expect the difficulties will go away. Okay? So to get angry at something does not make any sense. Because if you're getting angry, then the only one you're defiling is yourself. When we get angry, those kind of hormones are getting in our system which are not going to be good for us physically even. Mentally there's turmoil anyway. And so the one who's angry is the one who gets hurt the most. The one towards who we direct the anger gets less hurt than we do. Okay. So getting angry is just going to create more difficulties for ourselves. Because in any situation when you get angry, later on you feel, oh, why did we get angry? Because you feel it wasn't worth it. And so one of the keys to remember is, irrespective of what happens in life, we should not get angry. It's our expectations which make us be angry. So our expectations are not real because we're all idealistic. Okay? Like let's say you're living in a household. Okay? So we think that our wives or our husbands or our children or our parents know exactly how we think. That's how we feel because we say, oh, this is my wife, this is my husband, this is my brother and sister, these are my children, these are my parents, they're all close to me. That's because I have a blood relationship and we feel like our understanding is exactly the same as theirs. Little do we realize that everyone's understanding is different. And so if we don't reconcile ourselves to that fact, then we're always going to be in a state of turmoil because there'll be disagreements, there'll be thinking would be different. And so if we expect everyone to behave exactly as we feel they should, it's never going to happen. Okay? So to realize that others also could be thinking correctly beyond whatever we think is something that we need to learn. Because generally, as human beings, whatever we do, we feel we're the best ones who knows whatever we're talking about. And we don't give time to listen to someone else. So the key is to be able to realize that others could be thinking differently. So let's say you're trying to meditate and someone is making some noise. So rather than get angry ourselves, the best thing would be, when you're not meditating, to sit down with them, talk to them, that is your time for your spiritual practices, and then maybe have some kind of a compromise where you can say, okay, you can make a racket at this time, but not at this time. You have to make deals, okay? You live in a family, you have to deal with each other so that, it's just like when you have kids and they're teenagers and they want to go out, and as a parent, you say, okay, there's a curfew on them. They have to be back by 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I don't know if it's 2, 3, 4 these days. But in our times it was like that. There's a curfew, right, to come back. But then the kids are very smart. They negotiate with you. If you say you have to come back by 9, can I come by 11? They say, okay, you can come by 10. So you have to also negotiate in the family so that, everyone is happy and everyone feels, oh, I got what I wanted, okay? And so you have to be smart enough to do that, not at the time when you're meditating, but beforehand, so that you can get that time to be able to meditate properly. And so I think if you talk nicely with the family, we are in the family, we're trying to meditate, then things definitely are going to get to a state where others would also realize that this is a special time for the person who's meditating, and that at that time they should not be disturbing them, they can do something else. The other thing is to be getting better and better in your meditations. They talk about saints who could meditate when a band goes by. I don't expect any of us to do that, but that's what saints can do. So we can train ourselves that the disturbances from the outside are not going to bother us. And this happens as we understand the importance of meditation, as we understand the joy that we have as we meditate, as we understand that as we meditate, we can experience the love of God and be in a state of bliss. And so as we get into that blissful state, then we detach ourselves with our environment. And as we get to that state, we are detached with everything happening on the outside, because our focus is so strong on the inside, and the joy that we are feeling is so strong that nothing on the outside bothers us. So I would deal with that situation in these manners.
Is the pride of wealth limited to financial wealth?
The pride of wealth is not limited to only financial wealth. The key that is important is to understand that it's not the wealth or the finances which are troubling. It's the pride of being able to be in that state which is troubling. And there are many people who maybe were lucky enough that their families had enough resources which they provided to them. So they got wealthy. Finance is one thing, property is another thing. Having objects like cars, aeroplanes, we have tons of money, is another thing. And getting physical objects, having a lot of jewelry is another, form of wealth. So it's objects of this world. And so based on the families we are born in, based on the cultures we're in, whatever we have, or depending on how we studied, what did we study, what have we reached, how much hard work did we put in, we get to different levels in our day-to-day life. Okay? So you could be a doctor and you can make a lot of money, but no one realizes that doctors put so many years in able to get to start to make some money. Okay? Today you could be a computer scientist and you can make tons of money. You could be a lawyer and you could be rolling in wealth. Okay? So if you picked up a profession, then based on how good of a not only student you were, but how did you grasp your profession and how did you perform in your day-to-day worldly affairs is the key. So those people who work hard, those people who put in an effort, those people who are focused in their direction, then they get to stage where they accumulate wealth. Okay. Now, accumulating wealth is not a problem because we work hard, we accumulate something, that's fine. It's the pride of wealth which is difficult to deal with. Okay? Because the pride of wealth brings our ego out. Because our pride of wealth means that whatever we have, whether we have property, whether we have better jewelry than others or something, makes us tell someone else or show someone else, okay, I'm better than you. I've got this much more than you. And that's the problem. So to live in humility is what the great saints talk about. So that when we talk about pride of wealth, it's not just the finances, but there are all other aspects of life too, which impact the wealth that we have. And it's all talking about things that most people in the day-to-day life want to show other people off with. Many people, have fancier cars than others and they want to show it off, right? Many people have better jewelry and they want to show that off. Many people have better, let's say, homes and they want to show that off. And many people have, other, with the finances whatever you can get. And they want to show that off. And so it's showing off, it's trying to show to someone, okay, I got more than you. And pride is not only about wealth, it's also about knowledge, it's about, intelligence, it's about all kinds of things. And it's that pride which is going to bring havoc in our life, because when we are trying to show someone else as lower than us, it creates a lot of tension between them and us, because they don't feel happy. They then start to think, why is their life not like that? Or when we say things to others to make them feel as if we know more than them do, those are the things that are worse. So pride of wealth doesn't contain only pride of finances. There are other things that you can have which are considered to be wealth. But the trouble not in the wealth or the money that you have, the trouble is in showing off, because there are a lot of people who make a lot of money but they donate a lot for the help of other beings. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can only donate more if you make more. Okay? If you're making, let's say, $1,000 a month and your expenses are $999, you can only donate $1. Okay? But if you're making $10,000 a month and your expenses are $5,500, then you can donate $4,500 if you want. Okay. So it's all a question of not how much you have, it's a question of how do you represent what you have. Okay. It's a question of not trying to show someone else that you have more, and that's where the trouble comes in.
How can we remember God throughout the day?
The great saints have been telling us that for our meditations to be better, we need to be in that atmosphere. Okay. Doing Simran means remembering God. Okay. So when we meditate, what is our purpose? Our purpose is to know God. Our purpose is to be with God. So to be experiencing that, if all day long, whenever we have an opportunity, if our attention goes towards God, which is what Simran does, then it helps us when we sit down to meditate. And so, because Simran is a mental repetition of God's name, so when we are doing an activity which is not mental, okay, so you can't do Simran when you are doing like a mathematical calculation. It won't work. Okay. But when you're doing something that your mental activities are needed, then you can't be doing Simran, because we also believe in like supporting ourselves. So we don't believe in like negating life. We don't believe in leaving our families. We don't believe in going sitting in an ashram someplace and just live off other people's money. We believe, like as a human being, we are born in a family, we are born in a state, we are born in a country, that we have responsibilities to take care of. And so we have a responsibility to our spouses, to our children, to our parents, and to our loved ones. Okay? And so to fulfill those responsibilities, we need to work. Whether we work for someone, whether we teach, whether we have a business, or some means of getting revenue. Okay? And so while we are doing some of those activities, because they take quite a big chunk of our life, most people work for about 8 hours a day. And so at those times also, if we are not involved in those activities which are mental, let's say you're driving, okay, you could be doing Simran. If you are cooking, you could be doing Simran. There are many other things where we're not using our mind at that time. So anything that is not have to be done mentally, you can then do Simran that time, because then your attention is more and more on God and less on the worldly affairs. Then when you sit to meditate, it's easy for you to be able to collect your sensory currents and have them be focused within yourselves. So the key is to be able to find the time in the day to do that. Now, to do that, you can give yourself reminders. Okay? Some people might put it on the top of the fridge. If you're a housewife or you're living in the house a lot more, spend a lot of time in the house, or even otherwise, on the fridge you can put a sign, do Simran, or whatever it takes for you to remember to do Simran. At places of work you can do that too. At times when you're not doing mental activities, you have lunch times and you have other things too. And so maybe putting reminders in our day-to-day activities. Maybe you can have in your own life something very special. Every time that you look at it, you think about Simran. So we all have to come up with our own ways of being able to be reminded about doing Simran. And nowadays you all have your phones, and on the phones you can put messages to you, like they say, drink 8 glasses of water. Okay, but how do you do that? It's not possible. So people have many things. They might put on the iPhone, like, if you're working every hour, let me have to go get a drink, okay, of water. So it's reminders that you get. So similarly, you have to work out reminders for remembering God in your life. And then as you have those reminders in your life, then you'll remember to repeat God's name more and more. And as you remember to repeat God's name more and more, you'll find that when you sit to meditate, your meditation will come easily for you. And when that happens, then you'll be in a state of bliss and you'll be enjoying the meditations a lot.
What is darshan, and how does it help us on the spiritual journey?
When we talk about the lyrical glances of the spiritual master, we talk about what is called darshan. What is darshan? Darshan is not just looking in the eyes as a disciple of looking in the eyes of the spiritual master. We can look in the eyes of anyone. Okay, that's not what darshan is all about. Darshan is to be in a state of receptivity. We will receive the spiritual radiation which is coming from the eyes of the spiritual master to us. Okay? And this is why when we are in a satsang, we are asked to be very attentive. And the statement of the saints is that God the Creator has imbued the spiritual master with the love of God. Okay? And it's that love of God which is coming through the eyes of the spiritual master. So when that spiritual radiation is coming to us, from our eyes it goes to our heart, and then our heart is experiencing the love of God. Okay? Now, when the heart experiences the love of God, then there is a stirring in our soul. that our soul has the stirring of experiencing that love. And this is why I said from eyes to eyes, from heart to heart and soul to soul. Because what is coming to us is the love of God. Okay? And all of our scriptures are telling us those who love are the ones who find God. And so what is important to understand is that it is the love of God which has been impregnated into us through our eyes, which puts a stirring in our soul, so that our soul, which has been covered by layers and layers and layers of mind, matter and illusion, all of a sudden has the realization that, hey, I have got love to experience. And as it goes into that state of experiencing God's love, then it starts to take steps towards knowing God, getting closer to God, and being there. So it's like a spiritual rejuvenation which happens into us. Because our soul, right now, is covered by layers and layers of mind, matter, illusion. And so as long as we are involved in the activities of the world, it is difficult for us to focus on God. Because we feel that whatever is in the world is important for us to do. So all of our 24 hours just go in trying to either be settled in the world, or to make others happy in the world, or to just make a living in the world, and so or discover this world, or go to different places to see the sceneries of this world, try to learn about different cultures. So everything that we do is of the world on the outside. Okay? And that's where our attention goes, which is the outer expression of our soul. But when there's the stirring of love, when our soul feels the love of God, it wants to be with God, it wants to love God, it starts to be involved in activities which will take it closer to God, which is like doing Simran, remembering God's name, by doing meditation, so that we can have a spiritual experience of the divine, and so that we can soar into the inner spiritual region, so we can get closer and closer to God. So the key is to understand that it is the love of God which really ignites our soul. Okay? And in the presence of the spiritual master, it happens through the eyes. And so the eyes to eyes and heart to heart and soul to soul makes us understand that it's the love of God which puts a spark in our being, so that instead of being focused on the world outside, we start to focus on God, which is not on the outside, which is within ourselves. God is not sitting in the sky someplace, or on the top of the mountain, or in the depths of the ocean. God is within each and every one of us. And so, as we focus our attention within, and we then are able to connect with the Creator, we then are able to soar into the inner spiritual regions. We then are able to experience the divine light and divine sound of the Lord, which are the two primal manifestations of God. And so this connection is made for us through the eyes, and the love of God ignites us to get closer and closer to God. Okay, let's meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently as you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyebrows should be straight, focus 8 or 10 inches in front of you. And as you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do Simran. Those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. The repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. I pray to God Almighty to help each and every one of us connect with the divine power within, and to experience the divine light in His effulgence. I will be sitting for a few minutes as my prayer to the three great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Savan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and the Alpurush Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help us be guided into the spiritual regions, and to be able to experience the love of God as we go on the spiritual journey. I'll be getting you out of this meditative state in a few minutes, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please, Ligo.